Welcome back to everyone in the SMS comp for round 7 of our Superkick season. We start off by looking at the Walsh Dogs taking on the Rubber Gloves. Both teams, outside that top 6. The Walsh Dogs are 3-3. The Rubber Gloves are, at a struggling 2-5, and it's a pretty big game for the Rubber Gloves, actually, this one. I think if they go to 2-6, they're going to be in some trouble trying to make finals near the end of the season. It's a long way to come back from. For the Rubber Gloves team, they have Peter Wright that returns, whilst Josh Tracy has been in fairly good nick, even though Freo have struggled the past few weeks, and he will look to kick another multiple for them. Brent Daniels faces a fitness test with his knee, so we're not sure he'll get up. But players like Tim Membry, Todd Marshall and Riley West will all look to, maybe kick 2 or 3 goals each. They are fairly important players for the Gloves, whilst Brockman, the new player at West Coast coming from the Hawks, and a new Gloves player, can he get off the duck? He hasn't kicked a goal yet this season, and was one of those small forwards back at Hawthorn that could actually kick a few goals, but has struggled so far to date. For Walsh Dogs, they have got Brody Mychek in pretty good form, kicking 3 last week. Tom Pabley had a decent game last week, but I think the Walsh Dogs will be looking for a bigger game this week, and Bailey Banfield is one to watch. Seeing that someone like Jai Amos isn't playing, his time up forward has increased. Kicking 0-4 last week is probably just not good enough. So he's going to have to turn that around. And can someone like Josh Kelly surprise? He kicked 3 last week. We're expecting, the Walsh Dogs are going to expecting something similar again this week if they're going to get the win. And can Cody Waitman have another, decent game? He's one player that can kick 3, 4, 5 goals, then go missing the next week. The Walsh Dogs is hoping that does not happen this time round. It's a massive game for the Gloves, this one. Well, it's for both teams, actually, but I do think the Gloves are going to be a little bit more desperate, and they will sneak home by 9 points. Our second matchup this round is the 5-2 top of the ladder Fever team taking on the Flying Fortress at 4-2. A pretty good matchup on paper, this one, and the Fever will be looking to Lockie Schultz and Mason Cox to continue their good form from last week and kick some more multiples for them. Jai Amos will miss this game with concussion, whilst Mitch Georgiadis has been a very good selection, and Amati will be looking as well for a solid game after kicking his 3 goals last week, whilst Jamara Ugle-Hagan is a player that the Fever will be sweating on for them to come back into the side. He had personal reasons last week when he was listed and out, but we're not sure whether or not he'll be back this week. In terms of the Fortress team, we've got Danaher to take advantage of no Sam Taylor. I think that's pretty important for them. So I think he can kick maybe, somewhere between 3 and 5 goals. Elliott and Langford as well, both big game players, are sure to fire up on Anzac Day, whilst Liam Baker and Sam Wicks, who's just returned into the team, will look to have a solid games themselves. And Jake Waterman's, been the big surprise packet, kicking lots of goals, goals every round, but bags in the past couple of weeks. I suspect if he gets another, decent bag, I think it will be too much for the Fever side, especially if Jamara Ugle-Hagan does not play. So I am going to tip the Fortress by 6, provided that Jamara is not selected. Our final match for the round in the SMS comp is a beauty, actually. It's between the 4-2 Free Smoke, who are hoping to smoke it up a bit better than last week's performance, coming up against the 5-1 around the top of the ladder Pokey Bombs. We'll look at the Bombs team. Rochelle is one to have a watch. Last week he was scrutinised for making some key errors, in what really was decisive in the end. So he's going to be expected to, convert his chances. 2 players who I expect to go big on Sunday is Heaney and McDonald, as well as Jamie Cripps, getting busy against Gold Coast for the Eagles. And Sam Swikowski also returns from injury, plays a home game at Optus, so I think he can bag a couple of goals for the Pokey Bombs. For the Free Smoke, Harry Jones, expecting him to feature on Anzac Day, has been a very positive contributor. in the past few weeks, and Bailey Fritsch and Cozzy Pickett also should run amok against Richmond on Thursday night. And can Jeremy Cameron also have a nice game against Carlton? He kicked 4 against them last year. There's no reason why he can't kick another bag this time round. And Caminiti as well from the Saints has been a very positive contributor in recent weeks. Struggled to get a game early, but he's showed a lot of persistence and looks like a very good selection now all of a sudden for the free smoke. But unfortunately, Ben Brown has been dropped for this week. Interesting game. 2 very good teams. I think due to the better matchups, I think the Pokey Bombs may have the edge. So I'm tipping them to prevail by 15 points. Our second last game of the round is between the 3-3 Rocket Rod coming up against the Kickers, who are 1-5. We'll have a look at the Rocket Rod side first, with DeConning going up forward last week and kicking 3 very important goals for the side, whilst Pal Pepper also returned from suspension, and Horn Francis as well. Coming back from a recent injury, they're both expected, to bombard the Kickers' goal sticks. At some stage, and, can they kick multiples and give their side a advantage over the Kickers team? And Jesse Hogan's the other one. He's just been cleared from his 1-week suspension, so that's a massive now in for Rocket Rod. Whilst for the Kickers, Tex is going to have to bounce back this week, and Hipwood and Gresham are going to have better weeks as well. In particular, Hipwood, who was very quiet last game. I know the weather conditions weren't ideal for the key forwards, but he is one the Kickers are hopeful for. And can someone like Cadman from the Giants as well put in a better performance? Be able to convert his chances. That will be a watch as well, especially now that Toby Green is missing. And probably the player that the Kickers is going to be hoping for, the most significant impact is Shai Bolton. It's really Bolton or bust. He's going to have to perform and kick at least 3 or 4 goals. I just don't see there being enough options for the Kickers this week. So Rocket Rod, I think, will just have enough in the tank and win by 15 points. We now look at the Bamboozled Asians, 4-2, taking on the A-Track, 1-6, languishing down the bottom. Look, I think A-Track, this is do or die this game. I think if they drop this game, season is done for them. So they're going to hope that Stringer and Bailey Humphries, who had a nice game last week, can continue his good form. Jack Ginnivan's been the one firing lately for A-Track, but we'll need some support from players like Mitch Lewis, where he's been out injured and will need to return from injury, so he's hoping that happens this week. A-Track is also expecting more from Van Ruin, and we'll need a big game from Nick Larkey if he is going to give this game a shake. Whilst for the Asians, they have an in-form Norton who kicked, I think, a massive 6 goals last week, and usually kicks some behinds, but last week he was kicking absolutely straight. So more of that is expected from him, from the Asians, and Haywood, again, is presented with a very good opportunity against the Hawks on Sunday. Matthew Owens is a possibility to kick a multiple, and Michael Frederick is a possible player to come back from injury. And Rankin as well, playing North Melbourne. Even though it is an away game, I still think he's good enough to kick 3 or 4 goals against the bottom side. They will give chances for sure. I think between Norton, Haywood and Rankin, they're probably going to be the deciding factors against weaker opponents this week. I just think Asians will have too much in the tank and will get up by 20 points. Okay, let's have a look at our BH Cup matchup this week. It is between Minted Mick and the Mongolian Mangoes, both who've had a pretty good history. They've had lots of close games, and look, I think Minted Mick can count himself, a bit unfortunate, because I think Mongolian Mangoes have won a lot of these close matchups. We'll have a look at the Mongolian Mango side first, with Larkey and Haywood, I think, predicted to do quite well this week. especially Hayward. Like Sydney should really turn it on this Sunday, and I think he'll kick 2 or 3 goals. Josh Kelly as well is another one for the Mangoes to look out for. Kicked 3 last week, and can he do that again? Like, he might be called upon to play closer to goal, seeing that Toby Green's out. So he's going to be a good watch. I think he can kick another multiple. And I think it's Hayden McLean, Horn Francis as well, having lots of opportunities, being able to, cause Minted Mick some problems there. But we'll have a look at the Minted Mick side, and it was Patrick Lipinski last week bobbing up. He was a heroic player, kicking 4 goals last week. And Anzac Day is a perfect opportunity for him again to kick 2 or 3 goals. I can't see why not. If he's playing close to goal, he's going to cause problems. Lafau, an exciting prospect. Minted Mick has just put him into the side as well in the past couple of weeks. He's had his bye. I'm expecting him to get the ball a fair bit. And Max King will return from injury, although he does have a tougher matchup against Port Adelaide away. And players like Jackson and Zorko, as well as the returning Charlie Dixon, cause problems to the Mongolian Mangoes. Look, I think here this is it's a funny game because I think Minted Mick's gained confidence from last week's win, and I think he is due to get one back on the Mangoes. It's going to be a thriller. It's going to be a 5-point victory to Minted Mick. Okay, let's have a look at who's the best with Fest from the end of round 6 last week. We're going to start off at number 5 with Shai Bolton. Even though he didn't play last week and had the bye, I still feel he's a very deserving nomination there. He's just made the top 5. I expect him, though, to stay in that top 5 because he's kicking 2s and 3s most weeks, and I have noticed he's been more accurate in front of goals this season. So Shai Bolton is number 5. At 4 is another player that didn't play last week, but same sort of thing, has been a match winner, has kicked goals in real quick time, and I feel like he's in really good form, and that's Bailey Fritsch. So he's at 4, and I have, I'm pretty confident that he will hold his top 5 spot. At number 3, though, is Jesse Hogan. He has slipped from 1 to 3, purely because I didn't think his game was very good last week. Yes, he may have kicked a goal or 2, but he was very undisciplined, and I think he was a little bit off last week. In saying that, he's been very lucky to escape suspension and get off an appeal tonight. But I think he will be number 3, and if he's good enough to put in a good performance this week, he may climb back up to that number 1 or 2 spot. At number 2, I have an Eagles player in Jake Waterman, who was in the top 5 last week, but he's at number 2. He is lifting the Eagles and the Sheep into the top 5. He's been absolutely phenomenal in front of goals, and he's probably, in my opinion, the most improved player in the competition. Also helps that Oscar Allen isn't playing and the retirement of Josh Kennedy. So Waterman, he's been an ace for the Eagles and the Sheep. And we look at number 1, and it's Charlie Curnow. 3 goals for, a little bit inaccurate, but geez, he gets so many opportunities, and he really looks dangerous every time he's near the ball. He's, great on his left foot, can snap, can take a massive grab, can also use his teammates fairly well, a little bit like Jesse Hogan. And he's basically, one of the big reasons why the Blues and Vital, had big wins last week. So Charlie Curnow is number 1 with who's the best with Fest. Let's see who will keep their top 5 spot next week. And thanks everyone for listening.